Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Force StarCraft 2 Strategy, your #1 location for step-by-step strategy and tutorial videos. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Terran strategy. Basically what we're going to be looking at is a Marine, Raven, and Banshee push as Terran. The Marines obviously be doing a very good job of ground to ground and ground to air. The Raven is going to be our cloak detection, and we're going to be making use of that point defense drone, and the Banshee of course is that cloaked ground to air heavy damage dealing unit. So this is going to be a good mix. It's going to do very well versus any sort of warp gate mix that you can see from Protoss, as well as if they do happen to get out Colossi, you can use your point defense drone to suppress the fire from the Stalkers, move in your cloaked Banshees, and use those to take out the Colossus that might be on the board. Now in this particular replay of this strategy, the Terran player we're looking at is Last, and he is playing versus our Protoss opponent Nex Genius. Now I'm going to start in this particular replay for these strategy games of going just from the view of the player we're looking at. I had some requests to do that, so I'm going to try it out for a little bit. If you guys want to go ahead and let me know in the comments what you think of doing this, if you prefer to be able to glance over at the opponent's base every now and then, or if you just kind of want to rely on that view that you yourself would be seeing in the game. I do have a feeling after considering it that this could be a good way to go about things. The one thing I'm not going to do though is play with the player camera view, simply because all players, myself included, bounce that camera around so much, and they pick up lots of information in short amount of times by just glancing at the screen. And there are things that I want to take time to go over and explain to you guys as we pass over them. So knowing that, I'm not going to play with their camera view, and I'm just going to I'll follow along with what they see, but I'm not going to let it bounce all over the place because people will just start getting sick from that. So taking a look at the starting build order, we're starting off with that 10 supply depot, following that up with the 12 barracks, and then while the barracks is building our refinery, getting our second refinery as well once the barracks is done building, and then after that we're going to be picking up our orbital command. Now as you can see here, we are moving into the Protoss opponent's base, and what we see here is this one gateway. We see a cybernetics core coming in, second assimilator being built. The first one is over here, of course. So we're just moving our scouting information around, trying to see what we can. We do see something being built out of this gateway. That animation right there tells you that something's being built, and that is of course going to be a zealot because that started before the cybernetics core was up. And of course, as you can see, that was that zealot there trying to push back this SCV. So now at this point, our Protoss opponent could be going for a sentry, a stalker, or a zealot to follow up with that. Back in our base here, we were able to finish this wall off, stop the Protoss opponent from scouting into our base. Not sure why he hadn't moved up sooner. A lot of times Protoss players will send their scout after that 9 pylon. That's going to be the only way he's going to be able to get in your base before you wall off, but just didn't happen this particular match, so not going to worry too much about it. Now as you can see here, our factory is being built. That went up as soon as we had 100 gas, after we started saturating this refinery and this refinery. With that first 100 gas, we're going to be getting our factory. And then once that factory's up, we're going to go ahead and start getting some starports. We're actually going to start off with 2 starports. So again, what the push that we're looking at here is the Marine, the Raven, and a few cloaked Banshees. It's a really good mix versus that gateway composition coupled with Colossi. A lot of Protoss players will get Colossi. Versus Terran players, and as you can see there, with that robotics bay going down, or that robotics facility going down, we do know that we're likely to be seeing something out of that. So it's either going to be Immortals, or it's going to be Colossi, or it's going to be an Observer, probably starting out with an Observer. Putting that tech lab here on this factory, we are dropping that down so that once we're done with our starport, we can drop our starport onto it and start researching that cloak for the Banshees right away. And in fact, we're just going to start off by lifting our factory immediately. Also, this entire time, while we're teching up, while we're building our factory, while we're getting our orbital command, while we're getting our starports built, this entire time you want to be coming out with the Marines from your barracks, because this is going to be the bulk of your army. So be continuously producing Marines. Make sure you don't get supply blocked. Keep dropping these supply depots. Just kind of the basic stuff here. Now our second starport's coming up right now. And we're of course going to attach a tech lab onto that immediately. Again, continuing up with that Marine production, making sure we can get that bulk of the army. Now, something to be wary of when going for this is if your opponent, as you can see here, we do have a observer moving into our base, so we're just following that around, threatening to scan to kill it, so kind of forcing him to push out of the base unless he wants to lose it. The one thing you do have to worry really early on is you could see a stalker push. Now, if you were worried about that coming, if you did see that coming, you just go ahead and drop down a bunker. I would suggest putting one Marine or two Marines in Zelnaga towers in between you and your opponent. That way you could see a push coming, or even if you don't feel like losing a Marine, possibly sending an SCV just to take advantage of those Zelnaga towers. That way, if he did move out with some stalkers right now, we would see in advance, we would have time to drop down bunkers to defend against it. Because stalkers, even with the advantage of this high ground, if stalkers moved up here, they could pick off these Marines pretty easily, a large number of them. So as you can see, we do have these two starports up. We're starting off by getting our Raven, as well as getting these Banshees. Cloak is just about done researching right now, getting a couple more barracks to really work on this Marine production as well. Wouldn't be a bad idea either to get a reactor on this barracks, but keep in mind when you're building a reactor, you're going to be losing that build time of making Marines, and then also you want to make sure that it's not setting you back Vespian-wise when it comes to getting these Banshees on this Raven. You always want to make sure you have enough Vespian gas to get those. So maybe just dropping down these additional barracks will be enough to keep up that Marine production pretty high. So yeah, I mean, this is the composition that we're going to be looking at. This is the army composition that we're going to be moving out with. I'm taking advantage right now of our cloak Banshee to try to pick off as much as we can. Again, what we have to worry about is an observer moving up and then the stalkers just blowing up our Banshees, which is just happened right there. But with our push, this isn't going to have to be something that we worry about as much. We were able to pull that Banshee out before it got too low. Because of this Raven here, it's going to push back any observers we're going to see. If observers come within the range of this Raven, then what we're going to do is just pick it off with our Marines, and there you go. No more observer, no more cloak detection for the Protoss player, and that means your Banshees just go to work on anything on the ground that you're going to be facing. So here we go, we are pushing out. I just want to take a quick look back at the base. Make sure that you have all your units with you. Make sure that you're also bringing up some Marines and have everything rallied to your opponent's base, as you can see we're doing here. Also going to be moving up with some SCVs. We're going to use these to repair both our Raven and our Banshees. If they manage to see our Banshees with an observer, if we don't take them out from the cloak detection of the Raven with our Marines, then we can of course pull them back whenever they get low and use the repair from the SCVs. So as you can see here, we're moving up into this default ground mix for Protoss as well as that Colossus, and exactly what I said was going to happen. We're using this cloak ability from our Banshees to take down that Colossus. The cloak detection from this Raven, really close. In fact, we end up losing the Raven there. That was a huge blunder. You really want to make sure that you micro properly. Keep your Raven in back of your forces so that the threat of damage is at the front and the unit you want to protect is at the back. So keep that Raven in back of your forces, and then use your Marines and your Banshees to push back any bit of their army that they might be threatening you with. Try to keep that Raven alive, because like I said, with that Raven alive, you're going to be able to just run rampant with these Banshees, because they will have no cloak detection as long as you take out their observers. So as you can see, this has been a really effective push. I know a lot of Terran players have trouble with that default ground army from Protoss, the Stalkers, the Sentries, and the Zealots. That coupled with a Colossus is going to do a lot of damage versus Marines and Marauders, and it's very hard to handle. But this is a good response to it. This is basically a nice composition, a nice unit composition for Terran players to try out versus Protoss opponents. So taking a look back at the base here, we're going to go over that build order one more time, starting off with that 10 supply depot, following that up with a 12 barracks, and then getting our first refinery. Once the barracks is done building, we did get our orbital command as well as our second refinery. Of course, this is a very gas intensive build, so we're going to need a lot of gas early on. Continuously doing that Marine production while we're teching up. As soon as we get our first 100 gas is when we get our factory. Then after the factory, we want to get these 2 starports with the tech labs on them. Start researching that cloak, start getting out those Banshees and that 1 Raven. And then of course we drop down additional barracks to get some more Marines to support and to bolster the main force of our army. And then again, I want to make the note that when you push out, try to keep your Raven alive. Try to do a good job of keeping it at the back of your army, because it can be a really devastating addition to your units if you can keep that Raven up. And then we did support with a siege tank in the midst of all of that. With this factory attached to the tech lab here at the front, we got siege mode and we moved out with the siege tank. Adding 1 or 2 siege tanks to this mix, it can be really beneficial as well. So again, guys, this has been for StarCraft 2 strategy. This is the first time I did take a look straight from the single player's point of view as opposed to the entire map and looking at both players simultaneously. If you guys prefer this type of method with my strategy replays, do go ahead and comment in the box below. Let me know what you think. So again, guys, if you like our videos and like what we're doing here, please do go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep watching and keep owning. As you can see, that warp gate research still isn't done yet while we're making our push, exactly like I said would be the case. If you push out in time, they shouldn't have their warp gate research up quite yet. It'll be close, obviously. It's putting it up right now, but it won't be up right when you get there. And that's just the thing. That's why this can be so effective, is because